The Seahawks are fine again next year with Geno Smith being the quarterback. I don't see why it would be a problem. I know there is a lot of talk about, is Geno Smith the guy? Should they move on to a new quarterback? Should they go draft a guy? There's a lot of questions. And don't get me wrong, I understand why those questions are there. But the Seahawks were fine. They won 10 games, which was the most by a new head coach in Seahawks history, a first-year head coach. Mike Macdonald got this team to 10 wins, despite not being a perfectly built team, despite a bad offensive line again, despite getting rid of 2 linebackers midseason and restructuring the defense. There was still a lot of progress. And you had a guy in Geno Smith who threw for 4,300 yards, which was a career high. He still had 21 touchdowns. He had a 70.4 completion percentage, which was top 5 in the NFL as well, just like the passing yards. Obviously, he made some mistakes. The biggest reason I think a lot of people talk about moving off of Geno Smith is because of those 15 interceptions, and probably 8 or 10 of them feeling like they were in situations where you're within the 20-yard line or in the red zone somewhere, or in big moments of a game where it just seemed to go the wrong way this year, which was kind of the opposite of what we felt about Geno Smith the year before, or the 2 years prior. I felt like Geno Smith always excelled in big moments and was kind of average throughout a game, but always found a way to make a big play at the end of a game or excel at the end of a game. This year, that kind of went the other way, maybe with the exception of, his touchdown run against the 49ers, maybe a big play against some other teams like the Falcons, that touchdown to DK Metcalf he threw. But we saw a lot of mistakes late in games where we were out of the game because of a Geno Smith mistake. But I don't think that's solely on Geno Smith. I think that's based on a lot of things. On the offensive line not being great. Obviously, the Seahawks have moved off of Ryan Grubb and got Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator because Ryan Grubb had his mistakes, and the offense was not what Mike Macdonald envisioned. But we did see other people excel. Kenneth Walker's a great running back when he was healthy. And we saw Zach Charbonnet excel as a great running back when Kenneth Walker was out and when he was put in those moments. You saw Jackson Smith and Jigba turn into a top 5 to top 8 wide receiver in the NFL with Geno Smith throwing him the ball. DK Metcalf still had 900 plus yards, almost another 1,000-yard season. So we like to put blame on guys like Geno Smith a lot, but it's not all on him. If we look at this Seahawks team, 10 wins. There was a triple tiebreaker that the third one didn't go their way is why they missed the playoffs. And an NFC that had teams like the Lions, Packers, Vikings division where you had multiple 10-win teams. You had 2 teams with 14 and 15 wins. And that's why the Seahawks weren't able to make the playoffs. Otherwise, this is a season where they would have made the playoffs in most of these type of seasons. You look at the team ahead of them, the Los Angeles Rams. They scored more points than the Rams this year and gave up less points than the Rams this year. So offensively, you could say they were better than the Rams, and defensively, you could say they were better than the Rams, but they missed the playoffs, and that happens. If they had made the playoffs, I think nobody would be talking about moving off Geno Smith this year. Now, I'm not saying he might be the long-term solution here. No, he's 34 years old. He's going to be seeking an extension or a new contract. Sure. Can you draft a quarterback and bringing a young guy behind Geno Smith? Or maybe they believe in Sam Howell still. I don't think they do, but can you go draft a Jackson Dart in the second round if he's available, or somebody later in the draft to put behind Geno? Yes. But you are not going to take this season coming up after 10 wins for the second year of a new head coach with a new offensive coordinator and say, hey, we're going for a rebuild. We're going to, go draft a quarterback. We're going to be the Patriots, the Giants, the whoever, and just call it a year, draft a new quarterback, and just, see what happens. I don't think the Seahawks are in that situation. I see the Jets as a team like this too with Aaron Rodgers. Do they love Aaron Rodgers beyond this year or next year? No, but they hired a new head coach. Unless that head coach and the owner have a conversation that say, hey, you're okay losing 10 games for the next 2 or 3 years while you develop a quarterback, then they're going to want Aaron Rodgers so they can prove that with this head coach, they are able to win, even if it's not a long-term solution at quarterback. And I think that's the situation the Seahawks are in. Geno Smith, 4,300 yards. He can do it again next year and get this team back to 10 wins, hopefully to 11 or 12 wins, and make a run at being a contender. I don't know if they'll be Super Bowl contenders. I don't think Geno Smith's the type of quarterback that makes us a Super Bowl contender, and I don't know if the defense is ready or the offensive line's ready, but I do think they keep us afloat. And yes, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I love being average. I don't want to win 9 or 10 games every single year. I'm not saying that's what they should strive for, but I do believe that you do not take a 10-win team and turn this into a rebuild the next year and get rid of Geno Smith and deal with having a young, undeveloped quarterback. Because remember, the success rate of these quarterbacks is rare. People think it's very easy to just go draft Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud. Well, for every CJ Stroud or Jaden Daniels, there are the Daniel Jones of the world. There are the Bryce Youngs of the world who look good at the end of this year, but last year he looked bad. He looked bad for half of this season. You can't predict what these young quarterbacks are going to do. And these were top 5 picks, top 6, top 7 picks, whatever you want to say it is. Not a late first rounder or a mid first rounder or a second or third rounder. What happened with the Seahawks with Russell Wilson was rare. I think we get spoiled by that. Taking a third-round quarterback, turning into a Super Bowl champion. I think it's rare what happened to the Texans or the Commanders, getting a first-year quarterback high in the draft, and immediately they're extremely successful. We've seen this being hard in the NFL before. So I don't think the Seahawks fully need to just jump ship now and rebuild. Keep Geno Smith and see where it goes. And before I finish off this video, I do want to throw out a sponsor of ours. There is a new betting app that is available in Washington State or in most states. I think it's available in 46 or 48 states. Most states where you are not able to bet on spreads of games and different things like that, you can do now in Washington, California, a bunch of different places. It's the Novig app, and when you download it, you can use promo code ONTAP or Bets on Tap SEA, one of the two work, to get 50% off up to $25 on your first deposit. We get credit, and you will obviously get your $25 deposit for only $12.50. So download the Novig app, use either code ONTAP or Bets on Tap SEA for Seattle, and you will get $25 at $12.50 on your first deposit. And make sure you put that promo code ONTAP so I get credit, you get your discount, and we keep growing this channel and this brand. Last but not least, when that line comes out next year for the Seahawks over-under wins, speaking of betting, I do believe it's going to be obviously under 10. They're not going to put the Seahawks at 10 wins. They're going to put them at 8.5, 9.5, and I think I'm going to take the over. Look at what this defense did. They got much better as the season progressed. After getting rid of 2 linebackers midseason and putting in Tyrese Knight and changing up what they're doing there, obviously signing Ernest Jones, which I think they will re-sign him. They're not going to let, they're going to make sure that's the core going forward. The defense got better. Offensive coordinators changed. Geno Smith is obviously playing for a new contract, so he is going to be good. Jackson Smith and Jigba is emerging. The running back situation, whether Kenneth Walker's healthy or not, you still have Zach Charbonnet, who is really good, and you'll be okay there. So at the end of the day, why would they not be more successful or at least make the 10-win mark again next year? I think it's extremely possible. I think it's going to happen. So I can see the Seahawks team ending with 10, 11, or 12 wins next year, a second-year head coach having more experience, a defense getting better, and whatever they do this offseason, including the draft, they're going to try to find a center, find some guards, find a way to make that offensive line better, because I think that is the main priority going into this offseason. Our secondary is okay. We might need to grab a safety somewhere to pair with Julian Love, but the linebackers are probably going to be set. The defensive line's all right. You might get an interior guy or an edge rusher. But the offensive line's where the help needs to come, and they will find a way to do that to make sure this team excels. They're not going to just try to find a baseline or rebuild. So believe in the Seahawks, believe in Geno Smith. That's how I'm going into this next season, and I hope that it's all true and it's all right. We'll see, and we'll be back soon. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, and we'll be talking about it on our next episode. I love y'all, and we'll be back. Make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.